G'day folks, I'm Robert Bruce and today I'm talking to Cameron. And Cameron and I have had some lengthy discussions before and I decided to interview him for this Rising Kundalini program because Cameron has had a lot of Kundalini related experiences going back some years, and some of them are quite unique. And I've only known a couple of people over the years, and I'm not in touch with them anymore. So it's a really good example to that maybe help some people here relate to some of the things that may have happened to them, may happen to them in the future. So we'll explore this. G'day, Cameron. It's good to be talking to you again.
It's
From
nice to talk to you too, Robert.
somewhere in darkest America, I believe you live. Yeah, nice. I'm of course in Australia, and isn't Scott wonderful? You'll have to forgive the occasional noise in the background. We'd scheduled this interview, and of course, workmen turned up out of the blue, and there's chainsaws and shovels and drills and angle grinders and things going off occasionally. We'll try and work around them as best we can, um, and I'll edit most of it out when we can. But if it gets too bad, of course, we'll just redo it. And, good excuse for another talk. And this is a part of me comes out that likes avoiding work. I'd rather sit here and chat to you than actually do some work. It's more relaxing and fun than doing all the stuff I've got lined up for me in my to-do list, which are everywhere. So anyway, Cameron, what was the first spiritual type experience? When did you first encounter anything um, like like getting into an altered state, meditation? I think you mentioned once before about seeing a picture on a website and trying meditation out. Tell me about that.
The first time I attempted to meditate on purpose, I was on YouTube looking at some video. I forget what it was, and then there was some kind of institute that talked about meditation, and I think I heard it a couple times before, and nobody else around me really talks about things like that, and I just got curious. Sit down, cross-legged as I possibly could. I wasn't really flexible as I am now. But I tried to sit down on the floor on a pillow or something and sat down. The first 2 days, nothing really happened. But on the screen just flashed. Okay, I'm sorry. On the third day, I sat down and I felt a expanded kind of experience. First, it felt like I was flipped, like I was falling down to the floor, and I had like a perpetual kind of flip motion. And then as I would breathe in, I could feel the room breathe. Well, I could feel the room move with me. And my body, it felt numb, but in my head, I was still fine. And I was like just observing everything that was going around. And I got up and talked to my mom about it, and she wasn't negative or really anything about it. She smiled and said that was nice, but it really didn't have any input for me.
Excellent. Now, what you've described there now, and there's some details there I didn't get from the first time we spoke about this, but the one of the most common symptoms when you first start to spiritually awaken is a feeling of expansion, like you're getting bigger and bigger, and it's like you're swelling up like a balloon to fill the room around you. Uh, and that can also come with when it settles down, you get a feeling of shrinking and the room's getting bigger around you. And sometimes you'll get this feeling like you're like getting smaller and bigger. And the also that feeling when you said you're flip-flopping around, you're kind of moving inside of your physical body. You could say your astral body is moving about inside. That's also very, very common, as are some of the other things you described. By common, I don't mean they're unimportant. I mean they're very important. But these are classic first signs of spiritually awakening. And that also tells me, as a mystic, that you how would you how would you describe it? You have a natural propensity for this sort of thing. It was only waiting for you to try it. And yeah, you just saw a picture and sat down and started working in it for yourself. Started deeply relaxing, meditating it, and just working it out as you went without any instruction really. Which is another really, I can relate to that because I tend to do a similar thing myself. I'll try something out and just see if I can get it to work. And it's also, I find it a lot more fun than following instructions because there's always a chance I can discover something new. So, did you keep on doing that form of meditation after that, or did you look into it further?
What did I try to do? I I would do it on and off. I was in the I want to say like a phase where I said I meditated, but I really only did like once a week, and I played around with it in my room, trying to get like I guess trying to. I thought it was like I was seeking that feeling again, but I wouldn't like get it, so I thought I was doing something wrong. But at that point, I started reading like a lot of books, but I didn't know why. I just started trying to find something, and came upon the one thing I guess that I came upon that kind of stuck with me was the autobiography of a yogi, and that's one of the things that really helped me anchor down into the like a spiritual path.
Yeah, it's Yogananda. I've read that a couple of times myself.
Yeah,
It's a very good read, and it's like can give you something to connect to, and some of the things he experienced and he talks about in there gives you some kind of a yardstick because we're looking for something to connect to. The people have done things before and experienced things, and we can learn from those sorts of things. Now, Cameron, the you meant what happened? What happened after that in your life? When did you get to get the Kundalini spike happening?
that was had to be a couple of years later. It was because that's when my mom got an apartment. That was that was about freshman sophomore year. The Kundalini spike had to be
Mhm.
I think was at the year before senior year. So about junior year, that had to be about 3 years after.
So tell us about that. What happened?
I was listening to I used to time myself how long I would hold my breath by having a YouTube video on of a song I like to listen to. I watch the seconds pass to gauge myself. So if a song was like 2 minutes, I will inhale for about 30. I'll force it. I'll inhale for about 30, exhale really quick. So I'll hold it for like 30 or more. And I was like, okay, this song's like 2 minutes. That means I have like like 2, 3 breaths in this. And I would do that all day. Like I'll just listen to it, and if I like hold it for 30, then I go for 35, and then for like 40, and then I got like the 47, I think. And I'll do that for like hours on end. Like I'll close my eyes, I'll sit there on like a uninflated like air mattress, and I would do that, and I did to the point where I didn't breathe so much, but then I'll do it all night, and the night feel like it'll just whiz by. But I would do that. I think that's called pranayama. What I learned now. But I did that.
Where did you get the? Excuse me for interrupting. Where did you get the idea for doing that?
I read in it was it was in Yogananda's book, Kriya Yogi. I saw the word Kriya. I saw Kriya Yoga, and I had in my head what I thought that was. And then I googled something about Kriya Yoga, and then it said something about holding in breath or holding out for about set like for like 10 seconds or whatever, like 10, 12 seconds. So I'm like, I automatically assumed that the longer you held it or the longer you exhaled, the better it was. So I'm like, as long as I can do it, that's what I'm gonna try to do. And
So,
that's where that came from. That's
so
exactly what
when,
that.
so when did you tell us about the spike when it happened? What happened in that experience?
I was laying down, about to go to sleep, but then I just had the urge to cross my legs a weird way that I don't usually do because my back felt weird. I just like my lower back just felt uncomfortable. So I just like crossed my left foot over my right and just lay down. And then as soon as I did that, a couple seconds into it, I just felt uh, it's not. I don't want to say up my spine. My whole spine felt like it just became electrified. Just the whole, all parts of it at the same time, and I felt like I felt my spinal column, and then the electricity just a staff of electricity, I guess. I just felt electrified for 30 plus seconds. It wasn't bad. It just felt really it felt calming to a certain extent. And then when it stopped, I was kind of upset because it felt nice, and that hasn't happened since.
So that was kind of uncomfortable, but that uncomfortable sensation in your spine, particularly lower spine, would that be? Could you describe that maybe as like a pressure there? It's like an uncomfortable pressure.
I don't know. I always have it. I feel like it's more of like a back problem. I think, but it's not really. It's a back problem that's not really a bad problem. It's just like an annoyance, I guess, that I always had. I think I'm just really tight or stiff. That's what I assume. I'm not really sure.
Mm. It sounds to me, after the experiences you've been having there, that you've got a pressure, particularly in your lower spine, at the bottom part there, which is probably related to Kundalini.
I had to take it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm assuming.
And some of the other experiences you mentioned when you had some out-of-body experiences with the colours and that as well. Did that come after that, or the chronology doesn't really matter that much? You were just
Um,
more interested in some of the experiences you've had.
if I can remember in chronological order, that'd be nice for me. My memory's usually bad.
Hmm.
No, no, because those happened when I was in school. But what happened, I think one time I was laying down on my floor and I had a dream. I remember there was a dream before this, but then I came back to my room and everything had like a reddish hue. It wasn't like a really deep, like blood red, but it had it wasn't a fog either, but it was just like a reddish tone. And I was looking at my window, and I looked at my door, and then I was looking at just the stuff that was in my room, and it felt off. Like I was like, that don't look right. I don't know if I was thinking that then or when I got up, but I went to the window, and I felt this weird, like a grim reaper was out to get me kind of feeling.
Yeah.
I went to the window, I went back to the door, and I looked at the door, and then someone like a white popped in my face at the door, and then I got scared and I ran back, and then I stopped, and I just felt like it was just like this. I could feel myself to start shaking, like, and then I told myself in my head just to stop and to calm down, and then everything just like slipped, and then I woke up like that, and I was just confused. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm going to do with this.
Yeah.
And now when I read your stuff, I understand basically what the half of that was. But when I think back on it, I didn't expect any of that to happen. I wouldn't have thought of it to happen, really.
Yeah. You've obviously continued meditating in that, and what happened when you found out about my system of energy work and started doing that? Did that make any difference to you?
Weird stuff happens now. Like it would happen, not really weird. Like like the thought of having like the thought of everybody having like a connecting like a force to them.
Hmm.
It's more tangible. It's like I'll imagine, for example, I saw a picture. I think it was Yogananda with like an orb over him. I will imagine that and do energy work from like not just to here, but up to there and back down and do it constantly. And
Hmm.
I walk at work and it'll really feel like you have somebody like a little something, whatever over you while you're walking, moving your feet for you, and it's not you. And I look at other people and I can tell they're not. And it's just a weird feeling just to have it there. It's one thing when you're in your room and when you're in your room, is usually that's when everything just clicks as soon as the door hits. But
Hmm.
when you're at work and you have something there with you, and you're doing energy work while you're walking and talking to people, like every chance you get to sit and relax, like it got to the point. where I was working and doing something and my thighs felt tired or tight, and I had my 15-minute break. And as soon as I sat down, energy just started moving through my legs, and the tiredness went away, and I can go back to work, and it just felt like I didn't really do anything.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I,
it
I find
changes like your whole.
I find so many parallels in some of the things you're talking about here and my own path in the early days when I started exploring this. And I do very similar things. I'm playing with energy, doing this, trying that, trying to get something happening. And it's very, very cool. Uh, when did you first get the shaking sensation, the convulsions? Is that more recent?
I think I fight it now. It's like it's there, but sometimes I just stiffen up and like try to fight because I want to meditate, and I get annoyed. But the first time, I think I want to say this is what started it. I was sitting on a little dresser in my room. I think I was playing with like places to sit or try to meditate and do something. Because at first I thought it was like illegal to sit down on something to meditate. I thought you had to sit crisscross on the floor. But I think one day I got lazy, so I sat down on the dresser, and I felt this really nasty, thick static, like up here. But I just left it alone. Like I closed my eyes, my head was like this, and I felt like something like that in the back of me. I wasn't shaking anything. It, it was. I kind of like to think of it as like if you know how when a TV goes black and white, you hear the hiss. Like that's how it would feel if it was a sensation, but it was here and it just kept getting stronger and stronger, and I just left it alone. And I leave, and then I'll go walk, and I'll come sit back down, and it'll happen again. And then that day, I went on a bus, or it was sometime after that. I started taking karate. I was sitting down. I was trying to find a new space to meditate because I got lazy and tired of sitting on the floor, my legs hurting. And I started feeling like a thick static. It wasn't a pull, but it felt weird, and I could hear my ears, like my ears were. It felt uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do with it then, or it was it was a thick static, and I don't know what else to say about that. But it was at some time after that. I remember going to karate, and I was sitting on the bus, or if I forget if it started there on the bus, but I remember I would be in public, and I would start feel my body start to click, not click, but just to move on its own, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to fight something. I thought it was happening itself, but at the same time, I was on the bus, and I didn't want to look like I was having like an epileptic seizure, like in the side of a corner somewhere. So I just like clenched myself shut, and I said, "Not now." Like I was talking to myself. I read enough books to think about to hear like the terms like Shakti and Durga and stuff like that. Like, and I started talking to myself in terms like that, like not now. Wait till I get in my room. When I get to my room, you can have me, and it'll just be. I'll make up for it then, just not now. And so it'll go away, and I come to my room, and I was like, all right, I made my promise, and I'll just start getting flung. I'll like it's funny at the same time because if you let it, you can stand up and you start doing the most funny dances in the world. But when you get done, it feels really good.
Yeah.
Like I can understand how like some of these movements where people will put their hands and wear emotions in front of their chest and stuff like that. It had to come from that because you do things that it feels really weird, but at the same time it feels so nice when you get done.
The reason
But
I'm
that's
so interested in that is, and so will be the people who watch this, is now I did not experience the convulsing type jerkiness in the body, which can sometimes come with Kundalini as one of the symptoms. But I have had a couple of people I've consulted with, and one person in the local area, a school teacher, I knew who was getting that severely for over a period of several months. And um, a couple of times, he meditated in front of me and showed me. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he's going to break his neck because he was convulsing and throwing himself around. He was in a deep altered state, but so violently, I thought he was going to break something. I mean, he's in a big padded chair, thank goodness. But the this is a fairly rare side effect of Kundalini because Kundalini can manifest in several different ways, and this is one of them which can happen. And I think this is caused by the your central nervous system, your entire nervous system is normally, let's say, running on 12 volts for a normal human being, but when Kundalini starts coming along with a much higher voltage, and there is an actual electrical voltage involved in this, and that's why the Kundalini spike feels electrical in nature. It's like getting a little electrical zap, electrical. It's the only way to describe it. And the when you get a lot of energy flowing through a system that's only designed to take 12 volts, and you're getting like 240 volts going through, it's going to cause a lot of movement, and it's going to really shake things up. And so that's why I was so keen to interview you, Cameron, because this is something people really need to know about firsthand. And as I said, I didn't experience this myself. The way Kundalini happened for me was quite different. Some similarities, but there were differences there. So please go on. How did that progress?
It progressed. I started looking up. Well, that's how it progressed for me. I started looking up. I wanted to understand it more than one way. Well, I just started to understand it a little bit because I didn't see anybody outside really doing anything to. I didn't see that at all anywhere. So I came upon that in the word Kriya, and it went back. That went back to stuff I've read about before. So I thought there had to be something to it. But I just sit in my room or wherever I could when I could be alone, and I just let my body do what it's going to do. Like it would get to the point where I don't have to think. Like I would feel that when people sit to meditate, they pull themselves up, decide to sit straight. When I let this get to a point, I'll just let my body go relaxed, and I'll feel energy pull me up, and it'll start moving my body in ways it wanted to. It'll make me breathe how it wanted me to breathe. It will exhale for how long it wanted to exhale. It will inhale when it wanted to. And then the stuff that I was doing, I went and looked up something called Kundalini Yoga. And the movements they were doing were the exact same things I was doing. I didn't know at all. Like they had something called like the fire breath where they breathe through the nose a whole lot to supposedly like cleanse the body or something like that. There's another thing where you sit and you not gyrate. I don't want to use that word because that make a weird image. But you'll sit and you're kind of like your bottom kind of circle around in the weird circle of motion, and that's supposed to get something loose. But they were doing a whole lot of things that I was doing, and it's weird to see what I was doing with nothing new at all. But I kept doing that. It still happens now because I guess I got tired of it to a certain extent because sometimes I just want to be left alone. But I don't think that's really how this works.
Well, that's fascinating because if you look at Kundalini Yoga and some of the different techniques that they use, you can actually see from your own experience where they got them from. They would have had to observe people going through this and then try to copy those actions that they've seen people doing when they're having spontaneous Kundalini actions and convulsions. I mean, the physical movements and the little dance movements and hand movements of that, there's a reason behind them. And all I can say, Cameron, is you did the right thing, is just don't fight it, just go with the flow. And you consciousness will look after you. I know my friend had it very violently, and it was surprising, but it did, as I told him in the beginning there, predicted there, it will start easing off, and it did. After a few months of doing this every day, it peaked after a month or so, and then it started to ease off. And after probably about 6 months in total, it completely disappeared. And then he started getting some weird food cravings. I mean, I think he lived for a month on the fruitcake and cheese. And what was he drinking? He was drinking fruitcake and cheese and just tap water, I think it was. But that's all he could eat. He was not interested in anything else. And then after about a month of that, he suddenly got this craving for celery. And he just gorged on celery. And he went through this series of weird cravings that change every month or so. But please go on.
But to play on what you just said, I kind of go through that all the time. I don't know what to do with it. Like I'll be in my room, sit right here. I'll eat a full meal, I come upstairs and I know I have a drawer of applesauce unopened on the top of the refrigerator that has my name all over it.
Yeah.
That I go downstairs, it was just orange juice, applesauce, yogurt, whole non-fat French vanilla yogurt. About 5 or 6 of those are going to get down before I'm leaving the kitchen. If that doesn't happen, I'm not gonna feel okay sitting down. But at the same time, I know it's like this doesn't make sense. And I don't think it's good, but it's like I can't
It
do
does.
anything about it.
It does make sense. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening here. Your body is medicating itself. As you are undergoing these changes in your central nervous system and your mind and your consciousness, as you're undergoing changes, your body needs certain vitamins and minerals and nutrients in order to help with these changes. It's like your body has a wonderful intelligence to it. To a quick comparison here, pregnant women often get cravings, and there've been a lot of studies done on them. And pregnant women will crave strawberries at 2 o'clock in the morning. And if you're the husband, you better go and get them because they found that strawberries have components in them which actually stop a fetus aborting. So you can actually stop your wife having a miscarriage by giving her strawberries. She may crave other things. I've known women who crave raw liver. And I mean, this is somebody who would never, ever, ever look at anything like disgusting like that again. But they just started drooling at the thought of it and got some raw liver and just ate it. And I remember my mother telling me she had a craving for coal and she had to suck on this lump of coal. And it was like delicious but disgusting at the same time. But your body, a pregnant woman, those cravings are brought out because your body's undergoing a lot of changes, and what it needs to perform these changes, it puts out very powerful cravings. And you're undergoing exactly the same thing, Cameron. When your body craves something like that powerfully, and you know the difference between a whim and a craving. You crave particularly something weird, and I think you really need to follow through on that craving because your body is asking for this. Give me lots of yogurt and applesauce now. And afterwards you feel better. And your body's got what it needs. Whatever it's doing with those nutrients, you actually, and we've talked at some length before we started recording this for hours, and it's your progression in the spiritual awakening and in the Kundalini is like classic textbook. I mean, if somebody was teaching you, they couldn't have done a better job than you're doing on your own, just by not doing anything or working it in as you go. And you're doing everything right here. And you'll find you're not getting any conflicts, psychosis or anything like that. You're very stable, you're very calm, you're very deep thinking, and that will continue. And it may continue for some years, but this will continue to evolve as your level of consciousness evolves. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you and seeing where this goes. And we'll do some more interviews in the future and keep keep on top of this because it's fascinating. And it's really good to record this as well because other people who were where you were when you were in high school and this all started are just coming into this and they're starting to get these sorts of experiences. And it's easier for some people, more difficult for others, but some people have to work harder at it and put more hours in, some people less. And, because some people, their Kundalini is just waiting, a bit of gentle stimulation, it starts to flower and you start to evolve. So, and there's been so little work done on this outside of the traditions, and the traditions are limited because they are stuck inside the box of their tradition, whereas there's a lot of aspects about Kundalini which are really not being looked at and not being studied. So hopefully we'll gain more knowledge when the new program, Raising Kundalini, is released and more people start doing this and experiencing this, and we can gather more data and learn more about it. So that really is the most exciting part of it for me. We'll continue. I mean, don't feel bad about yourself. This is very natural.
I forget where I was at. I remember I said something about applesauce and yogurt.
Yeah, you're talking about you didn't know how to handle the how to handle the craving, normal or not normal. Um, but I was reassuring you that anything your body tells you to do, within reason, of course, if it tells you you want to go and get fast food, it's probably lying to you. There's a difference between whims and cravings. I mean, a real craving, if the body really wants something, it's like, I know, it's up around the throat, you just really crave this thing, it's almost painful how much your body makes you want something. But
Hmm.
it's very, very good for you, and yeah, you're progressing. I know it's a confusing time, but you're actually making really good progress. How are the convulsions and the jerks now? Are they,
Since
are they still pretty violent, or they gentle down a bit?
it depends. I feel like you're it's like it depends what it wants at the time, and I don't have no clue what that is. And I feel like afterwards I can kind of tell. But sometimes I can sit down and I might just like a get like loose kind of thing. And sometimes I feel like it's like a full blown exercise.
Yeah.
Like arm go up, flip back, or I'll try to stand up and it won't stop. I'll stand up and start moving my legs for me. I'll start marching in place or something like that to some crazy extent. But it makes sense because after all that stuff, you sit back down, your body feels it, it's more than your body. It's like your energy body feels different. It's you can feel the energy moving through you, but it's not really bad no more. Like your body won't do any of that. If it does, it's minimal. But more you feel like just the energy moving through your body by itself. But sometimes it's just as bad when it started, or sometimes it's not really noticeable at all, or sometimes it's just intermediate.
Kevin, do you find that your diet and exercise has an impact on this at all? Like what you're eating, does that affect it at all, or what sort of exercise you're getting, does that affect it at all?
Yeah, yeah. I would say yes. The exercise for one. I'm not 100% sure on the word grounding, but how I interpret it, how I thought that word meant was you just being stable in your body. When you exercise, I feel like it just makes you more solid. Like these energies will come through you if you're not really have like a solid in yourself in your body. It would tear you apart in more ways than you can really think of. But if you exercise and try to keep yourself, not saying like y'all be some big bodybuilder, but just to say some kind of tone in your body, this can happen to you, but it's not going to really have that. It's going to have an effect, but it's not going to send your brain in the scatterbrain like it would. So yes, when I exercise,
Mm.
what you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say the uh, heavy physical exercise is very, very grounding with Kundalini energies, and it will kind of defuse excess energy in your system, make you feel very solid and present in your body, very grounded feeling. Um, Now, this, even if you get some of the other weird side effects, like a small percentage of people, I've only come across half a dozen in my entire life, and you'll hear the warning all the time, urban mythology, that with Kundalini can bring an incredibly strong sexual urges to a person, almost werewolf level. Now, the few people I've known learn pretty quickly that heavy physical exercise completely diffuses that. And one person who had a big problem with this, who was a lady in her mid 70s, by the way, she always had to live or stay near a gym, and she went straight there and got membership. Because every couple of weeks she'd get this big urge come over her, which was very uncomfortable, and she'd go to the gym and she'd work out until she's physically exhausted. And it was just like pulling a plug, would just completely go away. And then she's good for another week or so. But consequently, she was a very fit woman because she was, working out a lot. But this is good to know just in case it happens to you. As I said, I've only known a small handful of people that have had that problem, but now we've talked about it. If you ever get anything weird like that, wow, I need a workout. I need some heavy exercise until you're like exhausted and it just goes away. Eating heavy protein is also very grounding. That will tend to diffuse Kundalini energy as well. So if you sit down and eat a big steak or a lot of nuts and protein, you'll find a glass of red wine or something like that will very also put you back in your body and make you very, very stable because it tends to shut down the energies and that.
Yeah. Now that I guess it's kind of weird to say this, but I guess for this, I guess I'll talk about it because I think I should. Like I would have dreams, and they'll be fine, or then they'll like start or end like as a wet dream, and I'll wake up or I'll do something in the dream that it would be what I did, and I wake up and I was like okay, and I'll have like changed like everything, wash everything I slept in, and
Mm-hmm.
it will happen, or it'll be like a semi-lucid dream, and I'll just start having sex with somebody I have no clue who it was, and like the whole from the beginning to the end, like orgasm and all that, and I wake up and it'll be really weird. And
Yeah,
that happens for a while, and
that
then
does happen. What you're getting there, in my opinion, apart from maybe the body needing a release, I mean, your body craves certain movements, certain actions, certain
yeah,
types of foods, and it can also crave sexual release at times as well. And if that's not happening in your life, then your body can put that into your dreams as well. But another thing that can happen here is that you will begin to experience certain tests in your dreams, particularly because you are becoming more and more conscious progressively. And one of the tests you will get there is the sex is used as a test um, of consciousness. Now, of course, we're not given a rule book on how to handle these tests and that, but the idea here is to become aware enough in the dream to say no and to say no. I'm not getting involved in that, or not taking advantage of a person or how the scenario is. It's like another aspect of dreaming is you are tempted with, it can be jewels, money, gold, or it could be fruit hanging off a tree. And if you pick some of them up, the gold, or pick a piece of fruit off a tree, you'll find straight away somebody comes up and starts telling you off. Now, the trick there I've learned over many years is, of course, not to take anything in the dream state, OBE state, that isn't given to you. And that way, even if it's a piece of fruit on a tree as you're walking by, and it's a sign of consciousness when you choose not to pick that fruit because it might belong to somebody, even though it's a dream. And you'll find that's how you respond to that type of dream test. So a lot of these things you can work out for yourself as you go along. Otherwise, just email me and we can talk about it.
no, with what you said, with what you said, it makes sense because I didn't think about it in that way until you just said it. But I remember when you told me about when I had what happened. Okay, I was laying down in my bed and I had a I guess I'll say it was an OBA. Everything went like the room went to cold, and I know I landed on my bed, and I felt like my spine and my whole head was just all this was just numb with I don't know what to call that. But then in like my lower like not it was like under my navel, or like it was under my navel. I just felt like a boof or something like that. And I looked down, nothing happened, and then I looked up. I thought I heard a door, but then nothing really happened. But then another night there was a dream, and it was like kind of like the same scenario. Like a girl came up to me, but then I said no, and she like pushed me on the floor and started dragging me across the ground. Got like really like pissed at me, like a kind of angry that I really like I was laughing, but I didn't understand it.
You know?
And I woke up, and now that you said that, it kind of makes sense. Like that kind of I guess the conscious progression just in
And
general.
you and your intuition. I mean, you intuitively said no, and yeah, and yeah, it's very interesting to watch how you're progressing through intuition and gut feeling. That ex, explosion you felt down there below the navel, is that below? Would it be just above the pubic line around that area? You felt a bit of a boof.
it felt like it was. It just felt like the whole entire like general area in general. I was like laying down cross-legged and all of that right there just went like that. Like somebody from the inside just like punch. Like it was like a punch on a wood door. It was.
It may feel like that, but I think that's a chakra. You probably experienced a strobe in that area, because you often, when you get a strobe, you'll sometimes get a flash of light in the mind's eye, but you will feel like a feeling of concussion. It's like someone's hit you with a pillow or something, and a movement there. So that may have been a blockage of some kind breaking up in one of your lower chakras, which is a very good sign. Speaking of chakras there, have you had much in the way of sensations apart from the pressure in the forehead you've mentioned and the head? Have you had any sensations in your other chakras at all?
When I first started doing your energy, well, first read it. I read about the strobe, and I was like, okay, let me see. I was, and I wanted to see what happened if you were really, I guess, if you just stimulate constantly. And when I first started doing it, I wasn't as used to it as I was now.
Mm-hmm.
And two things happened. I was at work, and I was doing the legs and I was doing my feet and legs or something in that way. Or I'll imagine like the donut, and I'll do the donut constantly. Just all the time when I could do, I could do the donut.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at work, and I could feel like from the bottom to the top. I feel like a little. There was something in me that was connected. And when I would do certain things or say something to certain ways to certain people, I could feel it go down, but then I could correct myself and it go back up, like energy wise. Like there would be a lady over here, and she had like a dress that came to like her mid thigh. Now, what I wanted, like, okay, I guess what I wanted to do, I guess I want to look down, but I could feel if I look down, then my energy would go completely. But if I just looked at her for who she was, then it would just be fine. I feel my energy to stay like that, but at the same time, it's like a fight for it.
Yes, your intuition is working really well here, and that is communication from your higher self, and you're
Hmm.
getting that really good interface there. Because one of the things that people you need to learn as you're becoming more conscious is, I mean, a lot of men tend to look at the same thing as well, like they're a piece of meat or a Barbie doll or something, or they look upon them as a sex object, they objectify them, and they don't see them as a person. And that's a really important spiritual lesson, to look at people as if they're a person. Look at the person and not the body per se, the image, See the person, not the image. It's a better way of putting it. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Uh, and then the second experience I had with that, this was, I guess, I was working at there for about a year. So this was about a year ago. These experiences. That and another time it was nighttime. I was on the bus stop, and I experienced what I thought was a strobe. Because I remember if you do the energy, but then at the same time you physically like push down and up with your body and doing both. I was doing that, and then I was standing there, and I just started feeling like it started going like that. It was just like the first. It was the one between. It was the first one. I'm
The,
assuming.
the base chakra between the
Yeah.
anus and genitals.
Mhm.
That's the perineum, that little flat area between your anus and genitals. That's where
Mhm.
the base chakra flowers, you could say. I mean, the base chakra occupies, it's a big structure occupying the entire hips area. But that's where the business end of it is.
But yeah, that was about it. I was on the bus stop and I felt it just like
Mm-hmm.
pulsing by itself. Like I stopped, but it just kept doing this, and I felt. And it was just weird when stuff like that happens, and I look at people, and I feel like I'm just there standing by myself, even if there's like two, three other people with me.
Mm-hmm.
But those are two experiences I had at work with that. I forget what the question was.
Oh, I was asking you about some of your other chakras. Any other sensations in your other chakra, your solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your brow, your crown, front or back?
Uh, my I would do your energy work, and I would think that I do work really everywhere else except here, because I always assumed that since they say your higher self is here, you don't need to do work there. But I started to think about that, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So I started to try to do that, and it hurt. It it didn't feel good. Like it felt painful to do stuff up here, and I had to do that for a while. I could feel like knots in the back of my like left side of my head where I have headaches all the time. I
Hmm.
started doing energy work there, and that lightened up a whole lot.
Good.
I did like here, right here, like me myself. I guess that's people have like inspirational figures in my life or in their life. And I see Yogananda as somebody who kind of guides me here and there with stuff.
Hmm.
And I start thinking about him in a loving way. And but I feel like a real this nasty thickness right here. Like I couldn't. I felt like myself blocked off from who or I just felt I felt like there were like veins that were like drained. Like I just felt all the energy just leave, and it felt barren, and it felt really bad.
What you're telling me there, you're describing two energy blockages here. You have an energy blockage in the heart, and life has done this to you, where you've kind of shielded your heart. Because you actually have a very, very strong heart center, which what I'm sensing from you there. And and the same with the pain you're getting up here as well. Now your intuition's right there, the golden rule that I teach there. Once you start getting any pain in that, I mean you can push it a little bit, but then stop, leave it alone until you feel completely normal again. There might be an hour, a day, a week, a month, as long as it takes. And then go back and work on it a little bit more until you start getting that pain and stop. And you'll find it's like the bodybuilding analogy we spoke of earlier, where you approach it, you know, you burn your muscles out, and when they start to hurt, you stop and you take a break for a week or so, and then you go back to it, and it'll slowly and naturally remove those blockages. And with the blockage there, look at my book Energy Work and some of the energy tools in there. And I would also be tempted to use the blowtorch on there and use the flame and imagine and feel the body awareness energy work as well. Imagine and feel the flame burning away. Imagine you've got like a lot of concrete and stuff stuck all over it, and it's casing it, and you're burning that dross away and revealing your heart chakra more. You might take a while. Just keep going at it. Do a couple of minutes a day, and do some affirmations on it that your heart center is clear. But I think because of these couple of blockages, that explains why your kundalini has done what it's done, and some of the convulsions and that may be relating to clearing these blockages as well as getting your nervous system used to the higher flow of bioelectrical energy. Um, so, have you had anything at the throat at all? The base of the throat here?
I mean, when I can't say that not in the way as like I feel like a when I do that I feel like I don't want to talk. I feel like there's like it goes like that. Sometimes it goes like it feel like a not real strong. I feel like that. I don't know how to explain that. Not like a real vice grip, but if you do like energy work through it, it feel like it
Pressure.
just wants to like shut down.
Yeah, pressure there. That's quite a normal sensation. And again, I recommend that you go revisit them and just do 30 seconds, just a little bit of work there until you feel a little sensation there, and then move on to something else. And do that go through each of your chakras, not the base. Your base is very active, and that's why you're getting these other Kundalini symptoms, because the base chakra is really working well. And that's the most important one to get working, particularly for Kundalini. But go for all your other ones. I mean, check your navel out, your solar plexus out, and your heart and throat and your brow. You might get some tension or pressure pain there as well. Quite common, as pressure pains up here is quite common as well. But you go through these pressure pains, and you might go through them for a month or so, or a bit longer. It varies depending on the work you do on it. But eventually they'll go away, and you won't get any pain. And then you'll find these chakras are working more strongly, like the base, and at a higher level. Then you'll start getting some You ever get a tickling sensation right in the middle of the top of your head, like someone's tickling you with a feather, or in the middle of the brow?
Here.
It's a
I,
tickling and tingling.
now it's more like I feel like somebody's going like, what? Let me see. Well, it'll be like it'll just move by itself. It's like I'm like doing this all the time, but I'm just sitting there relaxing. Like it'll just go like this.
Yeah,
Like I can look in the mirror and I see it just doing this for no reason.
yeah.
Yeah. Or
Do you know why they call the brow center the third eye? Apart from it being attached to the visual aspect of your brain, the sight center of your brain, is it actually starts to behave like an eye. In fact, you will feel there is an eyelid there, and you will feel some movement, and you'll actually feel like the eyelid is opening, and you may be getting the early stages of third eye activity where you're feeling the eyelid and the eyeball that is there is sort of moving and trying to open up. And yeah, that's fascinating.
um
Any other?
okay.
Have you had anything in the solar plexus at all, or the navel?
And all right, let's see. Does the lower back count as the like a navel area?
Lower back? No, that's more related to the base chakra, your
Or
lower back and the sacrum area. I mean, the Kundalini could be said to exist in the sacrum, which is that triangular bone that your hips and your torso sits on in there. But of course, it's quite a large area involved with the base chakra inside of there, including the perineum down here. So that lower backache you're getting is probably coming from the sacrum area. If you had an X-ray done, you'd probably find you've got perfectly healthy lower back, and this is just pressure from the Kundalini you've had for probably quite a long time because it's naturally quite active.
uh, I will say no. I can just feel when certain things. If I'm doing something, I can feel. I guess I can feel like a test in a certain way. Like you know, how, like something tests your fortitude. You can feel it in feel it in your you feel it in your stomach. Like I'll get annoyed. I get really annoyed. Is I can feel an option. Like it'll be I can go on and do the best I can, or I can go to this person and tell them exactly how I feel, and I know which one is the best one to do. But I feel like a pulling like on my like right in that like my I guess where the solar plexus. Like if I do something right, then I feel like I have more energy than I did before. If I do it wrong, I feel like I'll be drained.
You do it right, you get more. The solar plexus is all about personal power and self-esteem, and
Yeah.
so you've got to be careful here because if you follow the directions of your body, you can follow the directions of your lower mind of the ego. So the ego, if somebody annoys you, they want to go. Your ego wants you to go up to them, bash them, dominate them, put them down, steal their stuff, whatever, and that makes the ego feel better. But the higher mind is it is there a better way of doing this? As you said, to go on about your way and do your best, and you know, and not engage in that because once you get involved, if you get someone who's annoying you or doing something negative and you start to feel angry, anger is a healthy emotion, by the way, if you express it in a healthy way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with telling a person, "Hey, you're making me very angry. There, stop that." You know, that's healthy, and it shows maturity. Um, but another part of you will want to take another course of action, which may be going up to a person and you know throwing something at them or whatever, and that's the lower part. And you have a choice there, and you can choose the higher one, which is will you will find have more of a long-term impact on your personal power. And because when you connect with somebody that has a lower mind, the annoying type of people in the world, who are probably being manipulated by your higher self to give you this test, things happen for a reason. If you engage with them at their level, you are like falling from grace. You are literally falling down to their level. After that, you will feel probably bad about yourself. You know, say, well, I could have handled that better, you know. Instead of
Just
complain.
I thought that was funny. At work, there's this one lady in the cash register. I can't stand the sight of her. I learned to deal with it, but at the same time, I thought it was funny because I did a raffle, and one of the front end people asked me to pick a name out the hat, and her name came out. Like I picked her name, and I thought that was so perfect. I was like, okay, I understand. I know exactly what that means.
Yeah, remember we were talking earlier about the shamanic nature of life,
Yeah,
where signs and omens, that's a sign. I mean, if you to really understand that woman, you've got to take her shoes off of her, put them on, and walk a few miles in her shoes. Because what made her so irritating to you? What is there about her that really annoys you? And when things like this catch your attention like that, you really need to look at it and say, well, maybe there's something there from her you could learn from her. Or maybe there's something by looking at this situation that you can learn about yourself. And it's always a lesson, and it's being
yeah.
highlighted by the irritation. So maybe go up to her and talk to her and say, hi, can I buy you a Coke or something? Or, I don't know, whatever. I mean, just
I don't
talk to
think
her.
no, no. I can't. I know what it is. She's right. It's like she's never really wrong. Not in that kind of way. It's just she's somebody who's like always on you about like the littlest things, but they're not like that's exactly what that's almost what the point of a lot of things are. People do like everything right, but then they try to skip over little things here and there.
Yeah. No.
Like she'll leave everybody else alone, but she'll be on me because I'm sitting or doing something in a way that's a little bit my way, but
Mhm.
I'm at not supposed to be done that way.
People
You know,
normally, the people that annoy us the most are the people that we see something of ourselves in them, something about ourselves that we don't like. We see it in the other person, and then we
right.
don't like that person because there's something in them that reminds us of some of our qualities. So, what
Oh,
is
that's
it?
funny.
And you might find that she has the same thing with you. She sees something in you which is she finds annoying because there's something she has in herself. Life is funny. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes you really have to look for these lessons, and you can really bang your head against a door here or a wall, and you'll find no matter how much you try, that you don't see the lesson. I've been there, but for some reason, just looking at it is important. Trying to work it out, and even though you may never do, it's I mean, you don't ever have to go and talk to her or anything, but just you know work on that feeling of irritation itself, and because that's your responsibility. Say, where is that coming from, and explore and investigate that. You can get rid of that so that she doesn't annoy you anymore. Maybe you'll find the same thing will happen to her automatically. She might be picking up on that. Never know. It's
yeah,
worth exploring anyway. Anything you feel in your body, and psychologically, it's worth exploring because man, know thyself. Socrates, the wisest saying ever said. It applies directly to Kundalini because you have to know who you are. The choice maker. You're a collective. You're like this. This is you, a collection of different aspects. This one is son, this one is brother, sibling, you know, this one is employee, there's all different aspects in you. And somewhere in the middle here, you'll find there's a little red bit there. This is you, the choice maker. This is you that thinks and makes choices. But all these other bits are trying to influence that all the time. And it gets buried in it and lost. And as you start to get to know yourself and your different aspects inside of you, and you can observe this, when you go from one person, you go to a different person, you go from a work situation and you meet up with a couple of friends, observe yourself and watch how your behavior changes. Watch how it changes when you're around your mother or this person or that person. Just see how your behavior and your mannerisms change. Because that's
yeah,
learning about all the things which are influencing this. Because you normally only experience this when you're in a deep meditative state. when you feel all blissed out and very clear and calm, because that's you, the choice maker there. We're trying to identify. And I think it's important to get to know you in aspects, because if you do that, it's a part of getting to know yourself and cleansing your belief systems and that. It, it's very, very balancing, and it opens you up and gets everything, all the energies flowing, the download from your higher self and the universe as well. Once you get your belief systems working, that starts working well. And anything that catches your attention, um, like we were talking about there, the reaction to this woman there, needs investigating. Because there could be something really huge you're going to discover about yourself. It may have nothing to do with this lady. It's all about you, and it is all about you.
That's true. What else would you like to ask me? Because I had to sit on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's about it, really. Yeah, it's about all I've got to say. I think we got down to we were talking for about 2 hours before this, before I started recording. I mean, 6 feet away from me, I had men with angle grinders and a chainsaw and power drills, and it was like this. You couldn't even hear us talk. There's a little bit of that at the beginning. I'll try and chop it out, but yeah. So we've talked before, of course, but. No, that's about it. Unless you've got anything else to add, I'm just really interested in where you're at and what's been happening to you and where you came from, and it's fascinating, and it is. I mean, it's really also when I'm looking at me and looking at you, and that I mean, you don't have to live a sheltered, cloistered existence. You don't, normal people can approach Kundalini. They can.
Yeah,
And
life happen. Life will happen to you whether you want to or not.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Life will happen to us, and yeah, and I'll keep in. I'd like to keep in touch with you because yeah, it's really nice to see you going through this and where you're going, and you'll need someone to talk to, and I need to learn more. So that's a good exchange.
Yeah, I guess you could say it like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for spending this time with me today, Cameron. And we'll do it again soon. And get in touch with me when anything changes, even little things, because I find it fascinating. And let me know how the your investigation goes of that feeling.
Okay.
I mean, you may find that is your higher self, your body's way of directing you towards an investigation. It's dropping out some breadcrumbs here, giving you this really strong feeling. But when you start to look at that, you'll discover stuff about you which relate to other things, like that blockage around the heart chakra, for example. That may lead into there, it may lead here, there. But through this, if you follow the breadcrumbs, I call it bee following, you follow the trail, and then it leads you to something quite unexpected that you needed to know what to do. And, I mean, most of the time it works. Occasionally you get there and you think, what am I doing? What was I thinking? But usually you'll learn something out of it. And that's what this is all about, learning and growing.
Robert, I'm going to say okay, but in actual practicality of this situation, I I I don't know. Like I can be around her, I'll be in a completely fine mood, and then she just knows exactly how to put a knife in every little place there is to put one.
Oh,
Now,
that is something you need to learn. She's worked out some of your buttons, my friend, and she's pushing them very subtly. She's playing you like a puppet. Now,
yeah,
we're talking about NLP and mind control, how that works. This relates directly to that because if you can put it this way, as my son says, he's a psychologist. If he's sitting there and talking to you as a psychologist, and he will, as a psychologist, start pushing your buttons. Now, if somebody is pushing your buttons, therefore they're pushing your buttons, then hey, it's your shit. They're your buttons. They're your buttons. That's the
that are
point
being
here.
pushed.
I mean, I'm try and become buds with this woman at all. I mean, don't talk to her if you don't want to, but observe yourself. Find out where those feelings are coming from and try and get rid of some of those buttons. And if you really want to get back at this woman, if you remove those buttons so her little machinations don't work, she'll get furious. Because if it's not working, she'll get really upset.
Okay.
Without you doing anything, but yeah. Yeah, life is a metaphor and everything's here for a reason. So, you know, take the opportunities when they arise.
Um, the only other thing I can think of is when I can explain, what did I do? About I want to say it was a dream. There were about two dreams. There was the one dream where it was I came home through like the back door and everything was purple. And there's another dream I want to tell you about, but I feel like there's really not a word to describe what that was. I was looking at something, but it made no sense, and I don't want to say something that just sounds ridiculous
Okay.
because I don't. Um, but the one time I came through the back door, like I just floated through the back door, I could feel myself strutting through. Everything was the same, but it had like a purplishness through everything. And where the
That
door,
I can explain. The purple is
okay,
creativity coming from the brow chakra. Um, and a dream like that indicates that your chakra, your brow chakra, was producing a lot of creative energy at that time, and your dream or OBE state was being flooded with that purple energy, and you were picking it up. You don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from your body. So I'd be very surprised if your creative abilities in music and that didn't start to really take off. Sorry to interrupt you there.
oh no, that's fine. That make that was a that was that was about a year or so ago too. That hasn't happened again. That happened once, but that turned left and I went into my kitchen and there was like this string, and I plucked the string that was like connected to the doors that's not normally there, and then a bird I drew. That thing was a bird I drew, flew out of the kitchen sink, and then I zoomed into it, and I said, I was I called a name. I said Inky 3 times, and then I woke up, and that's how that happened.
Well, these are all prophetic signs which relate to music and art, which I believe you have some inclinations towards music and art. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start getting some really good ideas for maybe some songs and that, or artwork.
That's a good way to see. I would never thought about it like that. I thought it all seemed random.
Now, some of these things you said the bird that you drew the bird,
Yeah.
and I think maybe something's inhibiting your artwork. I think there's a lot of artwork wants to come out through you, and I think you might find that very balancing too. Because when these, it's like the craving food sort of thing, and craving to move in certain ways. Your body needs to express itself as well, as as a way of balancing itself. So yeah, enjoy. So I wish I had some artistic ability. I draw a bad stick man, but my son, when the purple strobe drawer, when he had his 14 years old, he had a Kundalini strobe in his third eye, which was purple, blinded him for a few minutes with purple. And he only had the one event, that one purple event. Now, if he'd have been asleep when that happened, he remembered the dream that came with it, he probably would have had a dream that was a very purple dream. It would have suffused the dreamscape with purple, just like the other OBE you have was suffused with gold. That colour would be produced by one of your chakras.
Okay. Well,
Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Cameron, for spending this time with us. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and Yeah, and we'll do it again sometime soon.
Okay, I'm down for it.
Yeah, it's good, hey. Weird, but nice. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
again. Ciao, buddy.
that's